Yes, in true video essayist form, I am pumping out yet another commodification of piece regarding a largely insignificant pop cultural event that will have no impact on your daily lives. But at least we can have fun with it. Both my For You page on TikTok and my YouTube feed have been spammed with analysis and play-by-plays of the most recent showdown between pop singer-actress Selena Gomez and model Hailey Bieber. In short, apparently Mrs. Bieber was casting some sort of shade over to Miss Selena Gomez, unprompted, and it led to a little bit of a back and forth and ended with Miss Gomez announcing that she will be taking a small break from the internet again. If you really want to know more, I'll link a couple of videos from T channels here on YouTube that go over everything in excruciating detail. For this video experience, however, it is not pertinent that you know all of the not so juicy details because we're only going to use the situation as a backdrop to an interesting cultural phenomenon here in America. It is not new. It has existed for decades, but this is the first time you guys will be hearing about it from me. I am referring to the commodification of girl fights, the frivolous-ification of women, if you will, the cultural relevance of irrelevant, shallow discourse between beautiful women. There are a few things that I have noticed when it comes to these types of events. 1, the women involved are almost always conventionally beautiful. 2, the discourse is lighthearted, but strong emotions and mental health always get lumped in, so an us versus them mentality emerges. And 3, there's always a plethora of people demanding to know why we care about this nonsense. If you guys watch my videos, I'm sure you're aware of the large number of thought pieces centered around the idea of pretty privilege and how it affects the person talking about it and how it affects society at large. I am most intrigued by those who have pretty privilege and discuss the negative impact it has had on their lives. There has been so much debate about pretty privilege, the nuances of it, and if it is truly a privilege. Girl Bossified pointed out in her video that she feels like people projected their own insecurities onto her in the form of what they perceive to be compliments, while not considering how she may feel. For her, she has had people compliment her slender frame while she actually does desire to gain a little bit more weight. Her perspective is where my initial thoughts about girl fights and drama really started to formulate. We call it pretty privilege, but are there more issues at play than what we see on the surface? Is there more of a negative impact on those who actually hold it? With pretty privilege comes strict gendered stereotypes. We do not often see a masculine woman benefit from the system because she does not fit into the proper stereotype. Generally speaking, pretty privilege seems to be awarded to those who present as more feminine in their expression. I can see how this could cause people a bit of confusion or hurt feelings if they benefited from pretty privilege when they are presenting more traditionally feminine, and then when they choose to present as more atypically feminine, a bit more masculine, or even just dress down a little bit, those experiences are more than likely going to be starkly dissimilar. This may sound superficial to some, but when you are used to experiencing life and the world in a certain way, and that is quickly altered and changed, it can cause a bit of an identity crisis. When people notice why their experiences are differing, when they notice that it is something that is partially within their control, they will often jump at the chance to fix whatever is going on or alter themselves in such a way that it would yield a more positive outcome. Before jumping to the conclusion that a girl who holds pretty privilege is just shallow or vapid, consider the social conditioning. If a girl is noticing that she receives more attention, more validation, and an overall better life experience when she is dolled up or aligned with conventional beauty standards, she will probably make sure she does not step foot out of her home without donning that look. Pretty privilege and the desire to keep or gain it perpetuates stringent gender stereotypes and a Western version of beauty. It also pigeonholes particularly women into performing certain behaviors and actions. When you think of a woman who holds pretty privilege, what kind of mannerisms are conjured in your mind? For me, it's a soft belle-like voice, elegant, fluid movements, and an overall gentle demeanor. This imagery is not something that I've decided for myself, it is imagery that I have absorbed through media and the internet. I believe pretty privilege is not only and just extended to women who meet conventional beauty standards. She must also submit herself to the expectations of traditional feminine presentations and align her behaviors as such in order to maximize her access. If not, the privilege may not be revoked, but it may may come with a bit more discontentment and additional typecasting. Both Selena and Hailey are conventionally attractive women. In a lot of ways, they are the pinnacles of beauty for many. Selena is typically very well respected amongst femmes and women because of her transformative career and her willingness to be open about the challenges she faces with her health, body, and media attention. To some extent, Hailey is a successful model. She is seen as a trendsetter, someone to keep up with in a similar vein as the Kardashians and the Jenners. Both women do have a good number of accolades behind their name outside of the boy drama and interpersonal beef, but they still have been bimbo-fied in many ways. The modern bimbo is someone who presents as feminine, embraces their physical attractiveness, and rejects the status quo of showcasing marketable skills. The modern bimbo is normally used in reference to Gen Z's rebranding of the term and the trend of self-bimbo-ification. However, back in the day, a bimbo was just a hot girl, usually depicted as a blonde with big breasts, who was dumb and self-centered. It is rooted in the thought that a girl cannot be both overtly sexually appealing and intelligent. When I am using the term bimbo, please know that I am referencing the original derogatory definition. When someone is bimboified by others and not by their own volition, they are viewed as frivolous, vacant, and a source of drama. While I have not seen people refer to either Selena or Hailey as bimbos, they are often treated in that regard. This entire charade between the two stems from fan speculation that something suspect occurred between these women and Justin Bieber, referring to years ago when Selena and Justin broke up and he became involved with Hailey a couple of short months later. The speculation is that Justin cheated on Selena with Hailey. Aside from the drama surrounding Justin, fans have observed some patterns with Hailey, mainly that it would appear that she has copied Selena in some ways.
I realized that everybody else seemed to be narrating my life for me.
Yes.
So why don't I put something out that is my side of the story? It's not hateful or anything. It's simply a beautiful moment to let go of, and I was really, really proud of it.
I was able to tell my story about who I was from my own mouth, instead of people from the outside being able to tell my story for me.
Your opinions on that can be your own. I have none on that. These little tidbits could really just be internet fun, where people overanalyze and act like crazed fans, like the Disney-era beef between Miley Cyrus, Demi Lovato, and Selena Gomez. Much like the petty drama on the Real Housewives television programs, we could just have fun with it, but something always has to tip the scales, whether that be colorism or an ism in general, bullying, or body shaming. Whenever there's a TV or internet girl fight, there's something always lurking underneath the surface. Some people just can't laugh with the fans or even at the women involved. No, they simply must laugh at women in general, using the women in the drama as representations of all women. Keep in mind, there is nothing wrong with being entertained by petty drama. This issue revolves around people who do not get the same enjoyment, constantly feeling the need to belittle those that do. For some, it can never simply be, look how goofy the situation is. They must always turn it into, see, this is what's wrong with women nowadays. When an online girl fight commences and gains traction, when it moves past their fan bases and into the mainstream, you can bet that there will always be a little group of incels or alpha bros ready to turn it into some type of lesson about the frivolous nature of women. And it's important to note here that when I say alpha bros, I am using it gender inclusively, meaning non-binary people and women can fit into that category. Misogyny is misogyny. I don't care what your gender expression is. The term alpha bro, for me, is not a compliment. When femme or female socialites and celebrities publicly battle it out with one another, they are quickly and easily stripped of most of their personhood, accomplishments, and individuality. Women are often said to be highly competitive creatures when it comes to comparing ourselves to one another. In fact, after 1981, when anthropologist Sarah Hardy pointed out in her research regarding female-to-female competition that the competitive component in the nature of women remains anecdotal, intuitive sense, but not confirmed by science. Since then, many studies have been conducted and published trying to add more validity and understanding to the speculatory competitive nature of women. In a 2021 study, it was postulated that qualitative and observational investigations of female adolescents reveal girls are often disliked, ridiculed, and ostracized when they are popular or presumed to be acting superior to others. This type of finding could suggest that there is something more, something perhaps innate behind the pick-me complex. Despite pick-me people currently being made fun of online, they were normally popular in their adolescence to some extent, especially the pick-me girls. Competitiveness amongst girls can lead to a pick-me complex because the end goal of that competition has to do with winning the respect, adoration, or love from onlookers. But these onlookers are not necessarily male. I feel the need to point that out because the manner in which I use the term pick-me is not intrinsically linked to men, which is the most popularized way for its usage. Instead, I relay this phenomenon on a more general basis that is to be determined based on what conversation I'm currently having. This idea relates to girl fights and the perceptions on them because, especially in the Gomez-Bieber instance, there is an underlying component of competition from at least one party. In evaluating where that desire of competitiveness comes from on Bieber's part, it would seem a plausible answer would be wanting to keep and maintain her mate. Evolutionary focused research suggests that female competition may be based on an evolutionary instinct to compete for limited resources like food, shelter, and mates. With this understanding in mind, we can begin to see how many men see girl fights as tedious and unimportant, but also as excuses to flex their masculinity because they think girl fights ultimately have something to do with men, whether that is to impress a man or to keep a man. And because men have become, or simply have, centralized themselves in girl fights, some may feel as if it is their place to cast judgment or scorn onto not only the women involved, but to women in general, because of course we all operate in manners that are meant to be pleasing to them. While I do buy into the thought that most things dealing with human nature are somewhat entrenched in our biology and evolutionary cycles, we are human, and we have observed that we can actively and willfully reject those precursors if we want to. Meaning, we don't have to centralize men if we don't want to. In the Gomez-Bieber debacle, we can see the objection to a man being the focal point of their discourse by the popularization of the mean girl theory. Miss Bieber has been accused of being a mean girl, along with friend Kylie Jenner. Essentially, the two posted an Instagram story referencing their eyebrows that may or may not have been targeting Selena, who previously posted a story about messing up the laminate of her own eyebrows. In addition, Hailey has also been accused of posting a TikTok that seems to be in favor of Selena Gomez getting body shamed on the internet. According to columnist Deb Laundrie of Bryson Taylor, mean girl behavior known as relational aggression is a survival tactic for people who are insecure, immature, jealous, and egotistical. It is a learned behavior and an insidious type of bullying that goes unnoticed by parents, educators, and even society in general. The main reasons and accusations for Hailey's current mean girl status, as defined online, are as follows: body shaming, making fun of or belittling others, xenophobia, and speculations of copycatting. I don't really care about Miss Bieber. What I care about is the mean girl label, where it comes from, and what it does. Relational aggression is defined by the National Association of School Psychologists as harm within relationships that is caused by covert bullying and manipulative behavior. It is something that is commonly found in school-aged children, with a focus being on young ladies. Much like the saying goes with boys will be boys, when it comes to harassing girls and asserting physical dominance, a similar turn of phrase is used when describing girls being mean to one another. Studies have suggested that relational aggression is seen as a rite of passage for girls. According to Warner and Grant's 2009 study titled Mothers' Cognitions About Relational Aggression, Associations with Discipline Responses, Children's Normative Beliefs, and Peer Competence, evidence indicates that by mothers, relationally aggressive behaviors are considered to be more acceptable than physical aggression. Mothers attribute less seriousness in terms of the child's responsibility for engaging in relationally aggressive behaviors than overt aggression. I want to narrow in on the less serious aspect of this notion. When girls fight, it is seen as catty, foolish, and largely insignificant. And the thing is, with hindsight, the things that we fought about as teenagers were insignificant. However, fights between women are not seen as insignificant in the same vein as a woman using hindsight. On a societal level, these fights are insignificant only because it occurred between women, and because they do not frequently escalate to violence. If there's no violence involved, it must not have been that serious, right? And to my fellow ladies of color out there, I know that the scale varies quite a bit for us, particularly for Latina and Black women. If we choose to fight physically, we sometimes have different parameters that follow us as opposed to our white counterparts or our lighter skinned companions. I know, but I do want to approach this very broadly. When we as women are fed this narrative that our verbal spars with one another are meaningless, just catty behavior, it births and carries this idea that nothing we say or do is worth very much. Because of that, some of us go even further with our words. We dig at people's deep-seated, deep-rooted insecurities and traumas, whatever we can do to best hurt the opposition. Women are so often said to be naturally emotionally intelligent, but I would like to challenge that. Because women are told since childhood how emotional we are, how emotionally aware we are, some of us take that and run with it, not stopping to do much personal evaluation. The shield that many women hide behind is threaded by benevolent sexism, which is a more subtle form of sexism that attempts to evaluate a woman's predetermined gender role by promising rewards either through chivalrous protection from men, or in this case, through an essentialist thought of women being more than men in an emotional way. This benevolently sexist guise of emotional intelligence in young women can lead them to having a decrease in social intelligence. If you watch any of the Real Housewives shows, you should be well aware of this. Fights and arguments between girls are not always nothingness, because some girls' propensities to go to hell when others go low can be the building blocks of subconscious insecurity. In other words, the fight itself may mean nothing, but how we fight, what we say, can mean everything. To the title of Mean Girl, it is yet another belittlement of the harm caused by girls onto other girls. It is not enough to simply be mean. No, we must attach it to girlhood, womanhood, femininity, so everyone can see how trivial it is. If that were not the case, we would just call it what it actually is. A selfish, callous being who only thinks about how they can win an argument. And if that method includes tearing someone down, then that's just collateral damage. And it is not lost to me that the term is probably somewhat a reference to Regina George, but she falls into the definition that I just laid out as well. The Mean Girls movie is literally an embodiment of everything I'm saying in this video. I know we like snappy terms, but we have to think more about how we could be perpetuating a stereotype of the actions of women being inconsequential. I want us to consider more of the why. If Hailey is copying Selena, why? If it is because she is jealous of her, why? If her jealousy stems from the situation with Justin, why? Why is she holding on to a relationship that occurred between Justin and Selena from over 10 years ago? Is it because she has been taught and shown to only find validation through a man in a relationship? And if so, why was she taught that? Could it be because that she was a beautiful girl who was probably fed the idea that the arguments she got into were unimportant, thereby internalizing that her thoughts and feelings were also unimportant? Could it be because that she, as a conventionally attractive woman, is constantly shown that her value and worth directly corresponds with her appearance and mannerisms? Could it be because she struggles with feelings of insignificance, because that is the narrative perpetuated throughout our society? And in that society, who cares if she takes her grief out on the easiest target, meaning Selena? Because who does care? Selena's fans? They seem to only care as far as they can see that they are getting to Hailey. I told you guys before that I believe parasocial relationships are more akin to an extension of the ego than they are to imitations of friendship. In situations like this, that should be abundantly clear. Selena's current online persona is tied to peace and unity amongst women, and yet her devoted fans who allegedly respect her, their first reactions are to body shame and belittle Hailey for body shaming and belittling Selena. The whole situation is laced in relational aggression by all parties, including Selena, who was stirring the pot by liking and commenting on TikToks denouncing Hailey. The more we create these terms that are not only tied to gender, but tied to a gender stereotype, the more we individually further systems of sexism. We don't need a comparison to men here with girl fights versus boy fights to show the sexism embedded within them. We can see that very plainly by just evaluating people's general responses to them. We could keep celebrity drama petty and harmless, but this is a video essay, so. Alright, that is it for me today, guys. Next week, we're gonna have a less fun, more serious video topic, so get prepared for that. So remember to like and subscribe because I have more deep dives and analysis on the way. And until next time, bye.